Hey, this is Bill Simmons from the Bill Simmons Podcast, here to help you make the most of your summer with Michelob Ultra, a superior light beer worth playing for. Play for it with the guys when you're competing to see who can sink more birdies on the golf course, because winning tastes even better with Ultra on the line. Play for Ultra. Fill your fridge with Michelob Ultra this summer. Enjoy responsibly. Copyright 2025 Anheuser-Busch Michelob Ultra Light Beer, St. Louis, Missouri.
Hey, it's Paris. You know I love sparkly things, right? Like stars. Duh. And thanks to Hilton and AutoCamp, I just slept under them. Picture me serving looks by the fire outside my luxurious Airstream, making s'mores with the kids, while a national park is our backdrop. The great outdoors meets Hilton hospitality. That's hot. Explore all the new ways to stay at Hilton.com. Hilton for the stay.
This episode is brought to you by Netflix. Becoming the most valuable sports franchise in the world doesn't happen without risk. A man who's willing to bet it all, and the players ready to make their own luck. America's Team, The Gambler and His Cowboys, is the story of the 1990s Dallas Cowboys and Jerry Jones's impact on NFL history. Featuring interviews with iconic 90s players and more. Watch America's Team, The Gambler and His Cowboys, August 19th, only on Netflix.
You're tuned into Auto Intelligence, live from Auto Trader, where data, tools, and your preferences sync to make your car shopping smooth.
They're searching inventory.
Oh, yeah.
They find what you need.
They're gonna find it.
You can make a budget for your wallet to help you succeed. Pricing's precise and true.
So true.
It's smarter car shopping.
Ooh.
Just for you.
Oh, it's just for you. Ooh. Find your next ride at autotrader.com. Powered by Auto Intelligence.
Hi, this is Tony Ruggiero here on the Tour Coach. If you're looking to get better at coaching, teaching, or playing the game of golf, you're in the right spot. I'm about to take you behind the scenes, inside the ropes, with all of the people I meet on my journey in the game of golf that are here to shed some experiences and shed some information that's going to help your journey improve and get better. Get ready. Let's go. Let's get better. This is a Golf Coach Development Zoom, the first one of the new year. And also going to be on the Tour Coach podcast. And we thought JP and I came up with this idea. I don't even think there was wine involved when we came up with this idea. But
sadly, there wasn't. No,
I know. Anyways, we're going to kind of go through. Each of us supplied each other a student. Going to kind of go through our thoughts. I thought that would be kind of cool for everybody to see. I told JP when we talked off before this on the phone about how I enjoy doing this, because I like to see where another really good teacher that I respect goes. And JP, you wanted to share. I thought you had some really interesting thoughts as well in this world where so many people send videos and there's so much coaching online. There's words of caution out there and some things that I thought it was really good insight.
I think it's it changes from person to person. My gut would tell me that it's about 30% effective. Maybe that would be the top end of the window of effectiveness for just looking at a video or even looking at a face on a down the line the way we're going to look at it tonight. We don't have a history like the student that you're going to look at from me, and I'm going to look at, like we're both aware that these people are advanced players, but we don't really know much about their history. We haven't seen a physical screen. We haven't seen any 3D. We don't really know where their game is at the moment. We don't know what shot they're trying to hit. We don't know what the strike was like. We can surmise maybe it was a decent shot from the video, but we don't know what the golf ball did in the air. So I think it's one of those, Tony, where it's kind of educated guesswork. And when you look at the work that people do on tour and on what we're trying to do with players at the highest level, and what all coaches should be trying to do with their players, is to limit the guesswork as best they can. And I think it's going to serve a purpose for us to kind of compare some notes and maybe prompt some questions from some of the teachers about some of the things that we see and how we kind of see things. But from my perspective, looking at the fine player that you've shared with me, I'm just going to look at some, efficiencies and some things that I think that might be helpful in him becoming more efficient and effective. And again, those are best guesses. So feel free, anyone who's watching and listening, to poke holes in it, because we really don't know. We're just using our experience and our training and some good guesswork to get through this.
And another thing I want to point out too, that I think this is healthy. One of the things I want to do with this group too, and I've got it set up, is if anybody's interested, is a WhatsApp where once a week or something, you teachers could send in some videos and on it, and we could take a look and help people, because I've been so fortunate in my career. I mean, early on I had Wayne and Hank. I still with Wayne all the time, but now JP and I are good buddies, and Jackson and Mark Hackett and all these people. Like I share videos all the time of my players and ask opinions. And JP, I know I've looked at one or two for you. I think that's a healthy thing. Doesn't mean you have to use everything everybody says, but I think it's okay. And it's not a sign of weakness to show a video to somebody or ask for help. Or what do you think about it?
I totally agree. I think collaboration is very, very healthy if people know kind of where the boundaries are. I'm very fortunate at Sea Island to have a bunch of guys, Chan Reeves and David Errington. We talk about and look at golf swings all the time. Chan helped me yesterday with a right hip loading exercise that I had never seen before, and I was working with this young guy and he was struggling with it a little bit, and Chan showed me something. And it's amazing the amount you can pick up when you're open-minded enough to share and to collaborate. And that's not to say that there doesn't have to be a level of trust involved in those who you want to collaborate with, because we all run our own little personal businesses. But for those like yourself, Tony, you're one of my inner circle, and Claude Harmon and Chan and Dave and Sea Island, and guys who I can just flick videos with and say, hey, I'm kind of stuck here. And I think that's a healthy way of doing things, especially when you have a student perhaps you've been working with for quite a long period of time, and you're just seeing the same thing all the time. So having a fresh pair of eyes, that's something I try and do in my own coaching. Sometimes I look at someone who I've been working with for a little bit and say, like, I'm going to look at this now with a completely fresh pair of eyes. I'm going to try and disregard all the stuff that I've accumulated and try and look at it as if I'm seeing it for the first time.
Now, I try to use, like you talked about an inner circle. I have a group of folks. Obviously, JP's one of them. Wayne, who's on here, is a big part. Jackson, but like I have several different people that kind of I know from their experience and their background come at things from different places, right? So that I'm not getting somebody that's probably going to look at things just the way I do. JP, that's why you've been such a big help. And obviously, I'll use Colby a lot because he comes at it from the physical aspect, and he may point out something with their body or whatever, and different folks. So I think that as you develop and as you teach and you move along, I mean, I think developing that inner circle is a key element to it, and surrounding yourself with people, like you said, there's got to be some trust there too. I mean, there's people
100%.
who show videos too, because I know the damn thing would be on Instagram in 12 minutes, and they'd be saying that they're teaching them. So you got to be careful.
Yeah. I hear you.
All right, Jackson, lead us. You're too tall.
So Tony, I'm gonna go through this, and Jackson, you can probably try and run it for me as we go through. Mm-hmm. Clearly from the perspective of just looking where we at, balanced, strong looking individual.
Really great athlete.
When I look at the arm placement there, I would be a little bit suspicious about the fact that the forearms are very close together. So when the forearms get close together, I kind of start thinking to myself, well, if from face on, if the forearms are close together, we begin to suspect maybe some shoulder protraction, if you like. But I like the shaft lean. I like the setup position. I like how well balanced he is. And Jackson, you can go ahead and run it to around about like 3/4 of the way up, if you like. I think there was a wee drill in there that Tony did.
I forgot and included that. That was
so I'm kind of happy with where he's at here. And one of the things from a sequencing perspective, I will often look at when the upper body stops turning, does the golf club stop swinging at the same time? So Jackson, you can continue up to just about when he finishes his turn, which I guess is about there. And you can see that there's a lot of like continuous golf swing, if you like. So Jackson, take it back down a couple of frames there. No, sorry, take it back down into the down. Okay, good. And let's run it back up just slowly. And we can see that he's kind of finished off turning there. And then we've got, let's go there. So there's a little bit of extra kind of swing there that you see. And coupled with that, you can also see this kind of space appearing between his left hip and his left shoulder. So his left lat looks kind of exposed there. So when looking at this just for the first time, Tony, and not knowing what anything that you guys are doing or whatever, I would be thinking to myself, okay, he's maybe got a little bit of extra swing at the top. He's got a little bit of kind of looseness in it. Shoulders looked a little bit out of position at address. Everything else relative to his pivot and his lower body look as if they're really, really strong, you know, reaffirming your kind of the athletic nature of things. So Jackson, if you run it on down there towards impact, you know, we can see he creates a nice amount of lean. I would say there we start to see like a little bit of kind of like a backing. So I would think that extra little bit of swing that he's had in the upswing is creating a desire or a necessity for him to kind of have to back out of it just a little bit. And then if we take him on through the impact area, and it was kind of beautiful structure through there. And Tony, obviously with what we kind of saw, you were trying to get him to continue on and to kind of cover the golf ball a little bit better. So I would wonder a little bit whether that was caused by that extra little bit of backswing for whatever reason. We'll come to that. Maybe if Jackson, you want to fire up the down the line camera angle, we can take him into setup position. So,
JP, do you mind if I comment for a second, or is that
no? 100%.
I love it because, and one of the reasons I did this in particular was a very selfish reason for me, is because when I've been over there the one time and I piddled around with gears with you and you talked, I know you've done way more stuff with me on shoulder stuff. And this is a really good player. And I've piddled around with, I know we've both done some stuff with form, with his posture and his shoulder. And I've done some stuff, I know, with Colby in there with his shoulder. So there was, in particular, that's what you just mentioned is something I've been really working on. And this is a video from last summer. So we've done more work. I purposely picked an older video to see where you go with Brilliant. It. But I love that. I love what you just said, but I'm curious your thoughts here about what you think about the posture from down the line. I might as well learn something while I'm doing this.
Well, you know, down the line, I think that right shoulder looks fairly well protracted at this stage here, and his right arm doesn't look as if it has a lot of hang to it. His right elbow doesn't look as if it has much of that nice little nook that we kind of see with a lot of the best players. So again, I'm kind of thinking to myself, he's extended or protracted that right shoulder forward. So Jackson, you can move him on into the early stages of his backswing, which from memory is really quite nicely organized. And then from here, as that right shoulder kind of retracts back across his body, you can see the shaft really starting to stand up a little bit. Yes. And anytime there's any retraction, which, you know, for anyone who doesn't like get that, it's like that's when the shoulder's moving backwards. It's like pulling your arm back across your body, or like pulling your elbow back behind your rib cage. Then we can see there's like a lack of rotation in the whole thing. So we can see then the club face kind of looks a little bit too closed relative to how steep it is.
Yep.
His right elbow kind of gets behind his body a little bit. And if you work it to the top, Jackson, you'll actually see a little bit of like right shoulder, like late elevation in it. And he's such a good player as he fires that back down into position. We'll see a big rerouting of the golf club as he changes direction. So bring that back up, Jax, for me one more time. So just look at how much the head of the golf club moves horizontally from right to left across the screen in his transition. And that, you know, that's a little bit like that run-on type of extra swing that he's got. And when it's, you know, it's extra swing and then it's moving around behind him, that could potentially cause him to have to stall his body out on the way through the golf shot. And one more time up to the very top of the backswing, something I remember learning from Michael Bannon, Rory's coach over the years. He always said to me, until the golf club gets to parallel, it has no business being parallel to the target. So until the golf club gets to parallel relative to the amount it's swung, it's got no business being parallel to the target. So from memory, his top of the backswing from face on was just a couple of clicks short of parallel. So that golf club at that point, in my opinion, I would construe that as really being quite well across the line. So from a perspective of just like what's that going to cause? Across the line is going to cause blocks and hooks. And for the reasons being that he's moved his shoulders that way as he transitions. You can go ahead, Jax. As he transitions, that club really kind of rerouting, falling down behind him a little bit. He's also dealing with a little bit of extra swing, so he's having to stall his body out to get his arms going, and he does a really good job of kind of catching that all up. You can see the club head's a little behind him there. He tries to put some squeeze on it, but I think he's probably going to still be in a situation where he's going to lose it to the right and turn it over a bit too much. But a really class player that I think would benefit from really, really good posture at the start and some understanding as to how that right shoulder would work, certainly at this juncture, Tony.
And if anybody wants to, Jackson helped me with him recently on my Instagram. I think last week I did some stuff, and I think JP, I'll send you some of the pictures and the videos because it's cleaned up some. But I really appreciate you taking a look at that because that's good. And again, everybody I think has strengths and weaknesses, and like the understanding that you've done way more with the shoulder stuff. I've done more, I think, with chest and rib cage and some other people. Like to me, it's been interesting picking your brain on this and seeing how we can help the guy.
Mm-hmm. No, and it's again a really, really cool project for you there. Somebody who's a good athlete. He can get
won the Big 12. He's won the Big 12. He's gotten Canadian status. He lost in a playoff to Monday qualify on the Korn Ferry Tour a couple of weeks ago. So he's got the crazy. And JP, this is something I'd like to pick your brain on him. Like he's got the crazy ability to shoot real low, right? Which is something that it's hard to teach.
Yep.
And when he gets going really good. But his bat isn't good enough to do what he's doing. And I feel like the bat is tied to what you talked about at the top.
Yeah.
You can't time that. But I think one of the challenges of a coach is figuring out the time with all these young guys in their schedule that you can make changes like that.
It is a challenge. I think that, a guy like this, if his worst score is 70 through 2025, he's probably going to be really, really effective no matter where he goes. Because to your point, so there's no time like the present. I think you've got to get in there and you've got to work at this and you've got to get it done as quickly as possible because there's ever more. The number of PGA Tour cards is decreasing. The number of incredibly good players is increasing. So I think we owe it to these guys to tell them what's wrong and go ahead and try and fix it because, somebody like that there, you can see that lad there maybe even leading the US Open and then the golf club getting way out of position at the top and he's under pressure and then he hits a couple of poor shots and then you don't hear from him again that Sunday. But, I think with your guidance and, making sure you get that, I think I've already seen a swing or two, I think on your Instagram, making sure you get that right shoulder into position. I love the cross-handed backswings for a player like that because it kind of settles the right shoulder at the start. And then if we could get the club more lined up, maybe his good is still really good and his bad is much, much better, which that means that you and I are both doing our jobs.
Obviously, another really good player that's had a lot of success. He's worked with, if I'm not mistaken, JP is first player, one of the first ones you've worked with when you moved over here to the state.
Yeah, I had lunch with him on my first day of work at Sea Island. He was a sophomore at Wisconsin. He was a Badger. So he's progressed really well, and he's now on the Korn Ferry Tour. He still exhibits some of the things we've looked at. So I'm interested to hear what you're thinking.
Did you run it back halfway, Jackson? Well, stay right there. So first, go back to the start. I'm sorry. I think his right knee pinches in a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you watch the next move, these are just my thoughts. Obviously, you guys I know have had a lot of success, but his right knee pushes in a little bit. I see that, and that kind of makes it a little harder to load into his right side, I think, because it makes it harder for your right hip to turn. and then have it again. And this kind of goes to what you kind of started with, like, I don't know what shape the guy's trying to hit. I don't know how he hit this. I don't, anything about it, or any physical stuff, but now keep it running a little to the top. Feel like right in there, he kind of shifts a little. And if I was on if you were on a swing cat or something, I almost feel like he'd get a little to the outside of his right foot, possibly.
Yeah, agreed.
Right. And then bring it down. And then I feel like he kind of, because he gets to the outside of the foot, I feel like he's got maybe a little more extra lateral movement out of the top, and he gets to the outside of his left foot. I mean, that's really all. I mean, it's shit. He's good. He's super good, right? Like, I wouldn't, if you want to go to the down the line version now. Maybe zoom in on it a hair. Stay right there. I also think his ass is tucked up under him a little bit. I might get a little more hip hinge and then get his right knee out a little bit, which I think make it help it easier for him to load into his right hip. And then go ahead right off the ball, please, Jackson. And I feel like right there he kind of shifts a little, and I feel like he might get to the outside of that foot. Keep going. And then as a result, I feel like the arms kind of lift, and right there I feel like he squats a little almost instead of turning, and then the club might get a hair, laid off, because he swings it back a little bit more with his arms, and his chest doesn't turn because he's gotten to the outside of the foot. I mean, I think from my perspective, I mean, again, and I think too, everybody has preferences, but I would probably try to get him a little more centered up, keep the pressure more on the whole inside, on his whole right foot, more to the inside, get him to get his right hip to go back a little deeper, and to get his chest and his rib cage to turn a little more, might clean it up a hair at the top, center him. And then I think if he does that, my opinion, he probably wouldn't slide into it quite as much, and he wouldn't get to the outside of his lead foot.
Yeah. Well, the coolest thing about that, Tony, is you've
crazy off from what you.
Well, no, you've explained what I've been trying to do with him, but you've done it in a different way, which is cool for me, because then I can, I'm always at him to complete his rotation better. The way I sometimes see it, Jackson, if you bring it to the beginning of his golf swing again, and I see this as like a sit load pattern as opposed to a rotate load pattern. So that's like a sit and load, which is, the problem with the sit load pattern is it's kind of like a rotation killer, because the sit gets him, like, he sits back across his right foot, to your point, Tony, onto the outside of his right foot. So all his depth is used up really early, and then he has to kind of lift his arms up. So I totally kind of I agree with exactly what you're seeing there. We're always working on trying to make sure he manages his rotation and gets away from that too much of that sit at the start.
What does every USAA member have in common? Family. We're one big family who supports the military community and their eligible families. And if you, your parent, or spouse served, you could join our family and save big on auto insurance. Visit USAA.com/join today to check your eligibility. Membership eligibility and product restrictions apply and are subject to change. USAA means United Services Automobile Association and its affiliates, San Antonio, Texas.
Brooks Running reminds us that we're all powered by something. Whether it's the me-time energy of a run after a day at the office, the electrifying energy of your first marathon, or the infectious energy of a group run with your friends. No matter what energy powers you, Brooks has gear specifically designed to unleash it. So lace up and let it out. Let's run there. Visit brooksrunning.com today to learn more.
Vitamin Water Zero Sugar has great taste, zero BS, and obviously zero sugar. For those with zero room in their calendar. Zero patience for slow walkers. Those who get 0 hours of sleep on a Saturday night. Have zero filter, zero given, and zero interest in grabbing a plain, boring water. Grab a delicious Vitamin Water Zero Sugar today.
Brace the rudders! Raise the sails! Raise the sails!
Captain, an unidentified ship is approaching. Over.
Roger. Wait, is that an Enterprise sales solution?
Reach sales professionals, not professional sailors. With LinkedIn ads, you can target the right people by industry, job title, and more. We'll even give you a $100 credit on your next campaign. Get started today at linkedin.com/results. Terms and conditions apply.
You know what might be good for him, just thinking out loud here, is like, I do a bunch with those bands, but like, where he's in his posture with a band pulled across and he's got to just rotate his rib cage like that, where he gets completely wound and he doesn't let the pressure get to the outside of the foot, would kind of center him up. I think I actually think a couple of those band drills could help him get that feel. I do. But like, man, he's good. He's great. And,
well, the hard thing, kind of like the student of yours that we saw, that the hard thing is that his overall pattern leads him, for whatever reason, to like stop turning in the club head. The golf club does a fair bit of things before he changes direction, and that just makes it hard to manage. I've looked at Sammy's pattern. I've looked at Sergio Garcia, who's similar, in some respects, with the amount of load that he creates, and the fact that he is a little bit of like a sway reverse spiner in the backswing. So there is history of that sort of pattern being really effective. I think Sergio is probably one of the best ball strikers throughout his entire career. He's had a 21-year career now, really, since breaking onto the scene on Medina. So I think with most of these things, what I'm trying to do is just soften the pattern, make it more manageable. And to your point, trying to get it to a stage where they're better on their bad days and they're still as good on their good days.
Yeah, agree. That's awesome. Great work, dude. I mean, obviously I follow a bunch of your folks and know who most of them are. And I mean, he's played he's coming out of Wisconsin. He's played a lot of great golf, and obviously
it'd be nice if you and I were at Sea Island. You could put some bands around him and do some things just to get him with different feels, because I'm continually chipping away at that pattern. And I said something today to one of the young guys here, Blades Brown. I've been helping, and I said there's no fix and there's no perfect. And he kind of liked that, because sometimes I think we give them the feeling that we're going to fix them, which there is really no fix, and there's certainly no perfect swing.
Right. No, I agree. That's awesome. I think that was good. Hopefully everybody liked that. I know that was probably too quick. Jackson, do we have any questions or anything? Anybody? I think this is a pretty cool thing to do, JP. I mean, this is, and again, this is kind of what we do, though. Like, I'll send you a video. I'm lost here, or this guy can't. I mean, I've sent you one before. Like, I can't get this guy to quit doing this. You got any thoughts, or what do you see? And last summer I sent you a couple of a really good player of mine, and you came at it from a different point of view, and it helped. And I mean, I think it's normal and it's healthy, and again, it's how you learn as well.
Well, I think as well, when you think of the medical profession, and I know we're not, curing diseases here, but those guys would collaborate a little bit, and they would say, what are you seeing with this, and what are you seeing with that? And ultimately that means that you've got the patient, or the player in our case's best interests at heart. I think that's very important, that, we do have the player's best interests at heart. So we're trying to make sure that we do our very best to help arm them with whatever information they need to have to be able to become better players.
Yeah, absolutely. It's interesting too, how people, it's always interesting to me how people see some of the same things, but differently, if you know what I mean. Like, we see the club, and and it's interesting how, I also, because I've sent you plenty of videos, I kind of have an idea where you go with things, right? And so that helps guide me with what like the person that I might send you, because I might have a suspicion that this is in that realm. And I'm sure with you the same. Like, you probably have an idea of where I go with things, but I think that's good. Like, different people coming at different, from different angles is helpful.
100%.
Jackson, you got any questions?
No questions, but
anything from you, Jackson?
Jackson, I mean, were you embarrassed by our analysis? Why don't you jump in there and tell us how we should fix them?
No, I love it. Do you want to talk about the one question I did have that was sent in from the gentleman who I think is preparing to transition away from his current club to a different club, and wanted to know how to leave on a professional manner?
JP, you better handle this because I've not done very good with this. I'm banned from the 2 places I left.
Well, I mean, I think you've got to remember that in our world, your reputation is the key to your success. And whether you've had a fantastic relationship with your general manager or your director of golf, or whether you haven't, your job is to maintain your reputation and make sure that you're being a professional. So, you know, if you are in the process of leaving your club, it would be important that you thank the people that have been around you for their support and their guidance. And even if you don't completely mean it, it would be nice for you to be able to walk out the door of the place that you're currently in, where people think that you're a classy individual and a professional who's done their best through your tenure, and that they allow you to go somewhere else. So I think transparency is key. I think respect is key, and remembering that when you're valuing your own reputation, it means that you need to be doing the right things, even in situations where you maybe feel like, whether you've maybe been hard done by or you've had a great ride. I think you want to try and close it up in a really professional manner, and then go to your next gig, because you never know who you're going to need in the future, and the way that you've conducted yourself will be spoken about, both negatively and positively, and that could be a big asset for you in the future.
I also think too, like, you know, if you do a good job, people follow you wherever, from place to place. JP, I know you have people that come to see you. You still have people that come to see you from overseas. And so I think the first and foremost thing is to be very appreciative and very open and thankful to the people that have supported you where you are. Every time I've left a place, I've sent out a very nice email and thanking all of my students, and, you know, texted the people that have been closest to you, and be open and honest with them. And again, I always have said that, like, if people will never begrudge you for bettering yourself. If it's a better opportunity and a great place to go to, anytime I've ever done that, you know, the people that support you and your students are always going to be by your side. And if you always put your students first, and your interest is always making sure they have the best, generally people follow you and your business grows.
I think too, you could use this forum. I know, Tony, you and I have both reached out to some people through our list that's now almost up to 275 coaches on here, because we're happy to help in any way possible. But also, I think if you're leaving a club that you did enjoy your time at, it's good to provide a solution to a problem. And if you can give them a couple of names and say, like, this would be a good direction that I would, like to see the club, so you can continue to take care of them, I think that would be a good way to step out as well.
That's great. That's really good. And again, we try to, I know too, if you're one of those young teachers and you're looking for places and you're looking to move up, I mean, always reach out and share, because I know JP where he is. I know he hears about things all the time. I know I do, and I know Jackson does, and Wayne does as well. So always keep that in mind if you have interest.
And I think, Tony, to some degree, to tie a bow around it, it echoes the collaborative approach that we have with some players, and the fact that we're all in this together, and we want to always try to, to some degree, support one another, even though there's a competitive nature to what we do, of course, with players and things like that. But I like what you said, Jackson, to try and give someone else a foot up on the ladder whenever you're moving to another ladder.
Absolutely. JP, this was fun. Jackson, great job. Hold on. We just had a question. I saw it. Brad Harris just asked. Go ahead, Jackson.
Question is, what are your thoughts of him flaring out the right foot a little? Do you think this would help him rotate a little more with the trail hip and the backswing, possibly help him keep pressure on the inside of trail leg a little more?
JP, I'm going to let you handle most of this. But again, I think it goes to what JP said in the very beginning about not, like an online lesson. Like, I haven't done a screen on him. The screen I do is very basic, a couple one-legged things that I always do with basically every student, good player that I learned from Colby, or I take them in there to have that done. But I think that would be more of a physical issue. Yeah, I would want to know before I started messing around with that stuff. JP?
I think what Brad has said there is a really good idea. I think that by trying to put some pressure down through his right foot in different ways has been something that he and I have explored. His instinct to hit the golf ball is sometimes just to sit back and to load his shoulders and to like load the club down. So I appreciate what Brad has said, and I think he's certainly on the right track with regards to the comment that he's made. And yes, I would say that through putting some twisting pressure through Sammy's right foot, I've tried to help open up that right hip. But the patterning of the way he hits the golf ball is still pretty strong, and he tends to revert back to that, like little bit of a sit, little bit of a sway, and little bit of a lift.
Awesome stuff. JP, thanks again for doing this for all the guys, and thanks to everybody for listening, and also thanks for always being part of the podcast, and appreciate all the help.
Thanks, guys. Cheers, Steve.
Good stuff. Thanks, Will.
Thank you,
guys.
Jackson.
Thanks, guys.
Jackson's going to announce it, but we're going to have Michael Breed's going to be on the 24th with us. Jackson will be sending out the info, so we're going to try to be getting a little better at doing these more regularly. And anybody interested in being able to send videos to us on WhatsApp, if you'll email me or Jackson, we'll go ahead and start that. We'll try to get that rolling next week. I've already got a WhatsApp. I've downloaded that. So anyway.
You're going international, Tony. You got a WhatsApp.
That's what I'm trying. They're going to start calling me Global T now.
Love it.
All right. Sounds great, guys. So we'll get that launched. Going to keep trying to help you. And Jackson, Wayno, JP, thanks for everything. We'll do this soon.
Thank you very much.